Good morning, everyone. Welcome to IASbaba's IMP program. So today we have discussion by IP Bhatia sir on internal security. He retired from BSF Border Security Force after serving there for 34 years as Deputy Inspector General from the headquarters Chandigarh. He has attended several programs from the prestigious IIM Indore and MDI Gurgaon. In 2016, after the illustrious Pathankot attack, where the Indian soldiers were attacked, so he was awarded President's Police Medal for his meritorious service. So this is in short about Chir. I can go on and on, but I don't want to waste much of his time, his precious time. So the table is yours. So please take it forward from
Good morning, civil services aspirants. I am IP Bhatia, DIG. I have retired recently from Special DG Headquarter, BSF Chandigarh, after having putting in more than 34 and a half years service. So I have been to various institutes, that is IDSA, Indian Defense and Strategic Analysis, War College, MAU, Military Headquarters of Warfare, Internal Security Academy, CRPF, Mount Abu. So, as well as I have got the ground experience of conducting operations in last 34 and a half years. So yesterday, we had discussed the basic issues of internal security and what are the challenges before the country and how country is prepared to meet these challenges. We had discussed the role of the various security forces, their mandate, what is available before the Ministry of Home Affairs to meet all these challenges. Continuing with this talk, now we are moving towards extremism. First of all, I would like to tell you that what is extremism? What do you understand by extremism? Extremism means adoption of extreme political, social, or religious ideals that reject and undermine the status quo or undermine the contemporary ideas or expression of freedom. Whatsoever the government is in present, if any ideology surfaces against that government and they want to throw it by means of non-violent means as well as by rebellion in the terms of arms. So that is basically extremism. It is adoption of illegal and violent ways to propagate one's ideology. And there are various types of extremism. If it is coupled with political and religious thoughts, then it is basically fundamentalism. It results from the political interpretation of religion and the defense by violent means of religious identity perceived to be under attack. Any religion may spawn this type of violent radicalization. You must be hearing the terms like Ghazwe-Hind. Ghazwe-Hind is basically the term coined by the terrorist organization of the militant organization of Pakistan. Their aim is to conquer the Hindustan. So therefore, they have coined this term Ghazwe-Hind. Then we have got the left-wing extremism, Naxalite problem, which focuses on the anti-capitalist demands and calls for the transformation in the political system, which has resulted in the social inequalities, means there is a lot of gap between the rich and the poor. And ultimately, they exploit poverty, illiteracy, and the wide gap between the rich and the poor, and which results in the violent actions. It includes anarchist, Maoist, Marxist-Leninist group which advocates the use of violence also. What is the fundamental difference between terrorism, radicalism, extremism, nationalism, and insurgency? Basically, insurgency is a rebellion against the state authority, and it is generally at the behest of the foreign country. Terrorism, it is a kind of group which have got some kind of demands, and they indulge in killing of innocent civilians, select soft targets so that their demands are met. That may be release of some of the prisoners who are in the jail or some of the terrorists who are in the jail. That may be the demand. Radicalism is basically revolutionary means, resorting to revolutionary mean to achieve the extremist thoughts. Extremism we have already discussed, and nationalism we have already discussed. Nationalism is basically supportive of Maoist political sentiment and ideology. Now, we would like to discuss what are the factors responsible for this extremism. Number one is the lack of governance. If you go to tribal areas, you will find that in the name of development, there has been no development. Of course, whatever the development is coming, that is basically coming in 10 years when this problem surfaced and MHA started tackling this problem. I would like to illustrate on the point that earlier the MHA had the Naxalite wing under its jurisdiction, which used to look after the problem of Naxalite. But when the Modi government came, this Naxalite wing was turned as left-wing extremist, left-wing extremist wing, so that the broader concept of the left-wing extremism is tackled by the MHA. Socio-economic issues is the second problem due to which the rise is there. Then role of Islamic fundamentalists, external manipulation, maybe by the China, maybe by the Pakistan, and then gullible targets are selected. There is basically the warfare of Jal, Jungle, and Jameen. Tribals believe that the whole Jal, Jungle, and Jameen belongs to us. It should not be exploited by the capitalist. And if there are industries are coming up, they should provide sufficient funds for our health, education, and so that our socio-economic development also takes place. Then there is development deficit, unemployment, poverty, infrastructure, lack of education, poor facilities. Development deficit like lack of infrastructure, roads which are being recently constructed. Health and education institutes are coming up. Earlier, if you have been opportunity to go to the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, or when it was united Bihar, I have served there in Daltonganj, Gadwa area, Palamu region. And the development was basically by the missionary jails, by the missionary people. They had set up the schools there, they had set up the health institutes there. So our government was lacking in this action since 2000. Governance issues are also there, lack of routine administration, incompetent, ill-trained, poorly motivated public personnel, and Forest Conservation Act. So what is the impact of extremism? If there is extremism in any part of the country, what is the impact? Impact is there is threat to the security. First of all, they'll be selecting soft targets. That is the police stations. Then the civil administrative offices, office of Tahsildar, block development office. Like these are the soft targets they may be selecting. Social impact. It violates human rights and endangers the fundamental rights of the Indian citizen. It leads to intolerance in the communities. Then psychological impact. By psychological impact means if there are 2-3 killings in a particular block, it causes fear among the citizens who are living there. So trauma due to violence not only impacts the psyche of the individual, but it creates a tense environment in the region. Economic impact. If there is extremism, militancy, or terrorism in any part of the country, ultimately the business will be impacted. The development of the infrastructure will be impacted. People will remain in fear. They would like to turn to their home before the fall of night. There may be less activities during night. So as a result, the economic development will shrink in that area. Then the political instability, it leads to political instability. Demographic loss. By demographic loss, I mean to say brainwashing of the youth. I happen to recruit the recruits for the BSF, that is concept, in Chhattisgarh area in 2012. So large number of youth had turned up there. And after 3-4 days, they projected to me, sir, we have got the problem. We don't have much money. And we want to go back because this process is going lengthy. So then I inquired, what is the problem with you? They said that we have got less money. We had very less money and we had just 100, 200 rupees in our pocket. We thought that on very first day, there'll be complete process of the selection. And we'll be back to our villages. So then further inquiring, I inquired, what problems did you face when you came to this location? They said, sir, Naxalites came to know about it, that we are moving for recruitment. They stopped our bus. They punctured our bus. They fired bullets on our bus. And they asked us to get down from the bus, and they then beat us thoroughly. That when we are asking you to join our cadres, you don't join, whereas you are going to BSF for recruitment. So getting the whole story, I made the arrangements for them at that particular place because we wanted good soldiers from that area also. So in 6-7 days, the whole process was completed and good tribal youths were selected in that area. So what I want to say that is first, the youth which is selected in the country, in our country, is from the NDA stream. They join in between the age of 17, 18 and a half years. But these left-wing extremist military cadre who are operating on the ground, they are selecting youth at the age of 14. They will approach the parents. They will say, your young son is required. Join with us. We'll give you 5,000 rupees per month. For 3 years, for 4 years. By 17, he is a trained soldier in the eyes of Naxalites. And then they start operating. So this is the way how they recruit youths at very early age. So what are the solutions to tackle this extremism in India? The solutions we have, we must spread the awareness. Participated decision making should be enhanced and role of civil society at national and local level should be increased. Employment should be generated. Capacity of local government should be strengthened for service delivery and security. Credible intermediaries. We should promote dialogue, negotiation with the alienated group and ask them to come to tables. De-radicalization of the youth. Youth should be engaged in the social cohesion. De-radicalization program should be carried out. They should be asked to pick up the skills. And I think they should be given recruitment in the security forces also. We should have some leverage in the parameters. Say general standard for recruitment in Punjab and Haryana should be different from the recruitment in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, or Gadchiroli of Maharashtra. So we can lower down our standards and we can bring them to our fold at the early age. Religious leaders' participation is also one of the way how we can tackle the extremism. Then ensuring the human rights and participation of the women. By participation of the women, I mean to say that women should be empowered to reduce sense of injustice and discrimination against them. Systematic discrimination, abuse of women is a strategic and deliberate tactics of number of extremist groups. So, concluding here for the extremism, I would like to say that our aim should be to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. We'll be answering the questions at the last. I'll be giving you 20 to 30 minutes and then we'll be having question answer sessions. So first of all, let me deliver whatever I know or I have scanned through various sources, and then we can have questions. So this was in reference to the talk of extremism in general. Now we'll be dealing with the Naxalites, that is left-wing extremism, how it has started, going into the history, philosophy, what are the cadres available to the Naxalite groups, and what actions have been taken by the MHA so far in controlling these activities, how it surfaced, what is the middle path, and now what all parts of the country are affected by Naxalites. So coming to left-wing extremism, introduction, we'll start with the introduction. It is a basically armed insurgency against the state, armed rebellion against the state, motivated by leftist or Maoist ideologies. It is known as left-wing extremism. As you know, that it started in the Naxalbari. Naxalbari is a small town in Siliguri. Siliguri is basically the area in West Bengal, Northwest Bengal. From that, you also know that the Chicken Neck width of this area is 30 kilometers. This Chicken Neck, through this Chicken Neck, there is connection for the northeastern states. So whenever we are in turmoil with the China, we are always worried about this Chicken Neck also. And we have to make arrangement for its defense too. So it originated in Naxalbari, West Bengal, and its teaching belonged to the Chinese political leader Mao Zedong. Conflict ultimately concentrated in the eastern part of the country, particularly known as Red Corridor, across the spread of states of Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, and Andhra Pradesh. So basically now we would like to know what is the philosophical concept of this. Naxalite problem. Mao Zedong, who was one of the leaders, he said power flows through the barrel of the gun. Then we have got Charu Mazumdar. Charu Mazumdar was one of the founder of Naxal movement along with Kanu Sanyal. He was born in Siliguri in 1918, Bengal. He worked as General Secretary, Communist Party of India, CPIM, Marxist-Leninist, inspired the people from downtrodden class to take their rights forcibly instead of begging from them. He was the opinion that the lower class should take their rights from the capitalists. They should not beg before them. They should forcibly take their rights. He targeted the young students from the colleges and fueled them against the government. Charu Mazumdar also said that one cannot be called as a revolutionary or krantikari if his hands are not dipped in the blood of a capitalist, Punjiwadi. This was the statement of Charu Mazumdar, that real krantikari is he who has got his hand dipped in the blood of a capitalist, that is Punjiwadi. Genesis, Communist Party in India was formed in 1925. Then war with the China in 1962. Then in 1964, CPIM formed pro-China group. There is split one. 1961, Naxalbari. Split two, CPI-ML, Marxist-Leninist group formed by Charu Mazumdar, Kanu Sanyal. Then spread of Naxalism. In 1969, it spread to Bihar, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. 1972, Mazumdar died. What is the objective of Naxalite? Objective of Naxalite is to develop people's government, that is National Democratic Revolution. How that can be achieved? What is the strategy? The strategy is PPW. By PPW, I mean to say Protected People's War. Protected People's War means indefinite war by the people. They can achieve the objective NDR. And tactics, what is the tactics adopted by them? Tactics is basically their armed cadre adopt warfare, guerrilla warfare method. Mobile, it may be mobile, it may be positional. First of all, they build their bases in the rural and remote areas, then transform those areas into guerrilla zones and later into the liberated zones, then expand the liberated areas and encircle the urban area. Fourth phase is encircling the urban areas. How that urban area is to be encircled and how urban Naxalites will play the role in that philosophy, in doctrine, that we'll do before the conclusion. What is urban Naxalite? Seizure of power is the ultimate aim. That is, they need political power. How to achieve use of local and to exploit social economic causes, that is divide in the society. Some of the facts which which may be astonishing to you, that they collect almost annual amount of 500 to 700 crores. The underground cadre is almost 20,000. And overground cadre is 5 lakh. Of course, it must be reducing now because security forces are gaining the ground. They have got AK-47, light machine gun, grenade fire gun, 2-inch mortar, and small weapons also. How they are being controlled means what is their military composition? By military composition, I mean to say who is at the top and who is at the lower level. This military is known as, basically, military of the Naxalite is known as People's Liberation Group Areas, Group Army. Central Military Commission is there, which is RMC, then Regional Military Commission, State Military Commission, Divisional Command, Base Force, Jan Militia, then platoon, company, or battalion, which generally operate in this Naxalite areas. Currently, 23 districts of the country are basically affected seriously with this problem. They belong to Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, and some part of Odisha and Telangana. The important districts I would like to tell you is the Aurangabad, Palamu, Latehar, Gumla, Girdi, Gaya, Chhatra, Khunti, Simdega. And while going down towards Maharashtra and southern part, Gadchiroli in Maharashtra, which is affected, Kanker, Bijapur, Dantewada, Sukma, Korapur, Bastar, Malkangiri, Narayanpur, These are some of the districts which are severely affected by this problem. How they plan their operation? Now the next question is how they plan their operation. It may be a political decision. It may be a decision of the Central Military Commission. They have to decide area or target. Then they operate, then they ask their battalion commanders, company commanders, or platoon commanders to move on the ground and execute the operation. When these guerrilla warfare go into the operation, what is the tactics basically adopted by them? Tactics adopted by them is that basically security force is their now adversary. They have to deal with the security force because with the advancement of security force in this area, there have been a lot of development. There have been construction of the road and health structure, infrastructure, as well as education infrastructure is also coming up. So in my eyes, basically police and your security forces are their enemy. So when I talk about the enemy, I mean to say police and the security forces. When the enemy advances, they withdraw. Tactics is when the enemy advances, they withdraw. When he camps, say you have gone for the patrolling, you have gone for the ambush, and after traversing in jungles for 10 kilometers or 12 kilometers, 15 kilometers, you establish some kind of your small camp and you want to take a rest, then they would come near you and they will fire upon you. That is known as harassing fire. Their aim is to harass you. And if you are tired, they will strike at you. When he retreats, pursue. अगर आप पीछे हटते हैं, if you go back, means after the operation you are going back. Then when the troops are going back, generally they are not that active and they think for the guarantee that our route is safe. At that time, they start attacking. So their basic philosophy of tactics is make noise in the east and attack in the west. This is their basic philosophy. That is, make noise in the east and attack in the west. One thing I would like to tell you that Mao Zedong used to say that state armories are our armories. How do they get funding? Question is, how do they get funding? Money is vital element for running any organization. So they term levy on various business and corporate sector. The responsibility is given to the journal committees. Journal committees also collect money from the businessman. In fact, they have got parallel administration for collecting the funds. Besides that, they have got funding from the foreign countries also. 19th, the division of Naxalite, left-wing extremist division, was created in Ministry of Home Affairs on October 19, 2006, under the name of Naxal Wing. And when the Modi government came to power, it renamed it as Left-Wing Extremism Division, Left-Wing Extremism Division. Role and function of this left-wing extremism division is to deploy Central Armed Police Forces, that is BSF, CRPF, ITBP, CSF, SSB in the affected areas, and providing sufficient funds for development of the infrastructures. I would like to tell you that basically there is a national policy and action plan. National policy and action plan by the MHA, which came into existence in 2015. Under that, we have taken sufficient measures to tackle this problem. Besides sending the security forces, security measures. We have development initiatives. Then we have ensured the rights and entitlement of the local communities. Besides the CRPF, we have sent the India Reserve Battalion, and we have provided Raptors and UAVs. Raptors for operations as well as evacuations during casualties of leak injuries, and UAVs for surveillance through air. Then in this action plan, we have gone for modernization of the police force, construction of the roads, installation of the mobile towers. Mobile towers are installed for better communication. Funds have been provided for health and education utilities. Currently, as we have already discussed, that this problem is now restricted to 23 districts mainly and 11 states. If we take into account the data of killing in last 5 years up to 2021, almost we have lost 400 soldiers. We have lost more than 1,000 civilians, and we have killed almost 800 left-wing extremists also. Besides that, there is a policy of surrender by the government. You must be reading in the newspapers that lot of Naxalites are also surrendering from time to time. And so far, more than 3,500 Naxalite cadres have surrendered before the administration. So therefore, it has resulted in the decline of the incidents. When we talk of the construction of the roads, as per the report of 21, out of 5,422 kilometers, we have constructed 4,970 kilometers of the roads. More than 2,000 mobile towers have been installed. Number of ATMs have been increased, that is almost 1,000. New bank branches, 1170, have been opened up. So this is the data which is available from the MHA, which we have discussed with you, that how we have come up with the schemes. And basically this is the fund under the security related expenditure. Central assistance schemes and security related expenditure, which is given to the various departments so that sufficient ways and means are found to control the menace of Naxalite. So now we'll be talking about the red corridor. There may be a question, what do you mean by the red corridor? Basically, red corridor is the region in the central, eastern, southern parts of India, which has experienced Naxalite moist insurgency. So red corridor is the region in the central, eastern, and southern part of India, which has experienced severe Naxalite moist insurgency. District affected by this and part of the corridor are among the poorest in the India. We have got very poor population in these areas, and it is high tribe population area. This region is high tribe population area. It is marked by severe social economic disparities. Roughly, this corridor stretches from the Indian border with Nepal and extends to the northern fringes of the Tamil Nadu. The education, that is the literacy rate here, is abysmally low, which is even low to the national average. So this is about the Red Corps we have discussed. Now we'll be talking about the intellectual support to the Naxalites. How intellectual support is available to the Naxalites. Intellectual support to the Maoist is made so that people always remain confused. Communist Party of India, Marxist, has close fraternal ties with many Northeast insurgent groups, especially the PLA of Manipur, National Socialist Council of Nagaland, NSCN IAM group. Most of these outfits have got linkage with the external forces inimical to the India. These PLA group and Nagaland group, they have got the links with the Myanmar, they have got links with the China. Even your Ulfa, which was once very active in the Assam area, they had links with the China. So then we have got the intellectuals like Arundhati Roy, Binayak Sen, Dr. Stanley, Sudha. Even Swami Agnivesh was in favor of them. We used to employ him for the negotiation purpose. CPIM has also got close link with the Maoist organization in the foreign countries. They have got Maoist parties and organization of South Asia, coordination with them. They have coordination with the Maoist parties and organization of South Asia. In short, it is known as PACOMSA, which is an umbrella organization of various South Asian Maoist parties and movement, and it proposes to coordinate their activities through South Asia, which always create instability in the region. These intellectual group basically create some kind of awareness in the society that we should eschew violence, we should leave the violence, we should fight election, join mainstream in the society, and learn the art of give and take in democratic setup without aggression. These kind of articles do come time and again. So intellectual support is also available to them in the universities also and in the other circles of the country also. What is urban Naxalite? Now our question is, what is urban Naxalites, urban Naxalism, urban Naxal? What is this terminology? Basically, this terminology in India came in currency in 2018 when there was wide dissenters, protesters against the establishment of the country. And it is a loose terminology which came into existence recently. Whereas urban Naxals are, according to Maoist philosophy, they are invisible enemies. They are intellectuals, influencers, and activists of importance. Once the sufficient ground has been gained in the rural areas, so Naxalite movement will spread to the urban areas. They would like to divide, they would like to exploit the society on the basis of divide which exists, say middle class employees, intellectuals, students. They will spread their Maoist ideology, radicalize them against the government so that they also come under the influence of Naxalism. So urban Naxalite is basically urban perspective, which is aimed to mobilize urban poor, like industrial workers, other like-minded organizations, to create rift between the government and the tribals. You must be aware of the incidents of 2018 when this Bhima Koregaon incident happened in Maharashtra, and your Pune police came into effect. Bhima Koregaon violence is known to you, there were speeches made in the Algar Parishad. They were celebrating the 200th battle anniversary of Bhima Koregaon. So high-profile activists and lawyers were arrested by the police, and they were placed behind the bar. Unlawful Preventive Act, UAP Act, was employed as a means of arrest against them. So then the NIA, National Investigative Agency, was also called, and this is how urban Naxalites got their terminology in our country. So in nutshell, we have discussed so far introduction of extremism, various forms of extremism, facts responsible for development of extremism, root cause of extremism, impact of extremism, and solutions to tackle it. Besides that, we have dealt with the problem of Naxalites. So in short, we have discussed extremism as well as Naxalism. Now it is your turn to ask the questions. You can ask verbally, there's no problem. Verbal questions I would like to answer, no problem.
Sir, what exactly? Good morning, sir. Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, what exactly happened at Algar Parsad that forced Pune police to invoke UAPA against most of the activists?
Actually, they were celebrating the anniversary of Bhima Koregaon. Basically, Bhima Koregaon is a incident. Actually, you must be knowing that there is social divide in our society, and the people from the Dalit communities had concentrated there, and they were taken by the Britishers in their fold, and they had fought the battle 200 years back. So, which was in violation to the rules of that time when the society of our society was quite backward. So therefore, they made the speeches in favor of B.R. Ambedkar, in favor of Dalits, and against the high society. That is the society, I would like to say the Varna system, which society is available before us. So therefore, these speeches were not liked by the present government, and the Pune police came into the action.
Okay, so sir, what court can do? Like in case if court feels that that is something that is extraordinary that has been invoked against them, like I don't think like it is a crime. In case if somebody was like invoking Ambedkar or someone like that, is it a crime?
No, it is not.
Or did they give any incendiary speech, something like that?
No, nothing. In fact, it is basically we have got the freedom of speech. It is one of the important fundamental rights which we have got according to the Constitution. Therefore, you must be reading in the newspapers that Sudha was arrested, Dr. Stanley was arrested, and they were later on released on the bail also. So, in fact, it took a lot of time for the NIA to file the charge sheet, which we had discussed yesterday, that they should file charge sheet in a particular time frame. So it is nothing basically against, only the speeches are there, but the government of the day considers them as a threat. So therefore they took the action.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Good morning.
Sir,
Good morning.
what is the difference between insurgency and militancy?
We have already discussed basically the difference between insurgency and militancy is that insurgency has got foreign support and they have got more trained manpower and they have got strong bases
Yes.
and they can tackle with the army or the border security force, CRPF soldiers also highly trained. And the militants may be in the infancy stage or may be trained also. They believe in the philosophy of guerrilla warfare, ambushing and running away. Whereas insurgent give you a tough fight. They don't believe in the philosophy of run. They believe in the philosophy of tough fight among the forces and the insurgents. They plan ambush and execute ambush with 100% confidence. And even if they have to lose their own soldiers, they are ready to do for that cause also.
Sir, so in JNK it is called in militancy, and in Northeast it is called insurgency.
Correct.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Sir,
morning.
even after
You can share your screen also so that I may see your faces also. Yes.
Good morning, sir. Sir, even after 5 decades, why is it so tough to eradicate Naxalism?
Actually, what I discussed in the initial stages of the lecture, that our government never thought of developing in that area. Successive governments came and went, but hardly there was any kind of development in those areas. And these tribal peoples were being exploited by a number of ways. And they remained tribal. There were social inequalities. There was no health structure, no education. And even there is one, you must have know how BD is made. BD is made from the tendu leaf. So this tendu leaf is grown in enormous amount in those areas. And it is collected by the businessmen. And then they get huge amount of profit out of this business, whereas in return they pay very little to the tribals. So this area became a red corridor, and then Government of India wake up. We had been to Daltonganj, Palamu region in 2000 for conducting the elections. And then it was MCC in Bihar. It was Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Daltonganj. Chhattisgarh and your Jharkhand were not the states at that time. So during election period, one of our election party, which was camping in some school and elections were going on, they come under the heavy fire of the Naxalites. Almost 50 to 100 Naxalites came and they started firing on our troops. We lost 7 soldiers out of 10, and all the weapons of us were also looted. Whereas in return, only 2 Naxalites were dead. And the philosophy of the Naxalite is that the front person should carry the arm. Say 15 to 20 person will carry arm. Rest of the 80 or 70 will be unarmed so that they can come up and carry out the rest of the operation. So in this way, we have seen in 2000 that there was not much development in those areas. It was complete jungle.
Good morning, sir. I have one question. So, sir, is there a relation between the terrorism and nationalism? And one more question is that do intellectuals in the urban area have any role in sympathizing with the minority and radicalizing them in going towards anti-national activities?
Your question is, first of all, we'll address one by one. Kindly repeat your question.
So, what is the relation between Naxalism and terrorism, if there is any? And second is, do these intellectuals, the so-called left-wing intellectuals, do they have any impact on the minorities by in radicalizing them and going towards anti-national activity, minorities and also the Dalit communities. So we see in news that there is for example, Elgar Parishad event also, there were some intellectuals and they were giving some speeches which were considered anti-national and incendiary. So is there a direct relation, or it is just a propaganda by some other people to make things like this?
First of all, we would like to know what is the relation between the Naxalites and terrorists. Basically, the relation is that of arms and money. Both the parties are carrying arms in their hand, and both have got money. They need money from drugs, they need money from narco-terrorism, and they need money from the capitalist in order to carry on their activities. The aim of both is different. Terrorists have got a very small aim. That is, they may be asking for the release of the prisoners. They may be asking safe sanctuaries in other countries when they indulge in the terrorist acts. Whereas Naxalites have got long-term planning. They have planning to throw the government of the day. Basically, they are against the capitalist. They say that there is a wide gap between the rich and poor. Tribals have not been looked after by the government. And these inequalities brew violence in the society. And therefore, there is armed rebellion to carry out their activities. Naxalism is a basically philosophy. And Naxalites are the armed cadres who are basically the military wing of the Naxals, or you can say left-wing extremism. So the military wing is basically given the directions by the top political bureau, by their commanders that go and execute the operation, so that there is alarm in the public. Then security forces are also threatened, as well as civil administration won't be able to do their tasks. Say in particular area, ID gets explodes, or a party of a CRPF comes under the fire. Recently in Bijapur it happened. They were on motorbike patrolling. So assistant commandant and his colleague came under fire. Both were killed. Their motorcycles were set on the fire. Rest of the person retreated, and the whole sway was of the Naxalites. So Naxalites have got a very long-term planning. What I mean to say, basically they want to capture the political power. Whereas the terrorist doesn't have any kind of political affiliation, and their aim is not for capturing the political power. This is the difference you must have understood. And now, how does it impact? How does the intellectual impact? Intellectuals go there, they make the speeches, they talk about the inequality in the area, they talk about the low standards, and definitely when they come to know about the reality on the other part of the pastures, so definitely there is some kind of disgruntlement with them, and they get radicalized. Your youth starts entering into that stream, and even they have got the sympathies. Now, in reference to Kashmir and in reference to Chhattisgarh area, I would like to say that they have got the sympathizers in Kashmir because of religion, because they are fighting a war for the cause. In Naxalites, tribals have got sympathy because their sons and daughters are also working as Naxalites. So therefore, whenever these political leaders of the CP Communist Party or the top bureau of the left-wing extremism goes there, they are generally given a sympathetic view. There have been number of persons from our society who are working for the welfare of those areas also. There are good teachers who have gone there, and there are some bureaucrats who have also left the service, and they are making society rise. But it will take time. Now, earlier, 2/3 of the country was affected with the Naxalite problem. Now it has come to only 23 districts. So if you imagine the geographical area of 23 districts, I would like to say that Punjab of the today is equivalent to 23 districts, even if their area is larger. Then combine Punjab and Haryana, and 23 districts is this much area. So this problem has declined to a great extent, considering the 2/3 of India and now 23 districts. Next.
Good morning, sir. Sir, regarding armed forces, special police, special powers, the recent after Nagaland incident, there has been a strong demand to repel AFSPA. So, is this the right time to remove that?
Armed Force Special Power Act, we will be taking separate lectures, but somehow I would like to say that Government of India has recently taken the decision to continue with it. Because if there is failure in one operation, and there is a requirement from the public, moreover, it will become a political issue also. Government of India cannot take the decision of just repealing in that particular state, because that area is infested with the problem of insurgents. PLA group is very active. Nagaland, there are a number of actions. They are very active. They have got active support from the foreign countries. So therefore, we have continued with the Armed Force Special Power Act. And I think it is not the right time to de-exercise the Armed Force Special Power Act from that area. So this is what I can say about that. Rest we'll have special discussion on this lecture also.
Yeah. Hello, sir.
Ji.
Yeah, actually, you discussed about urban Naxalism. Just I want to ask, like, means in case if we are we would be asked by interview board, like we don't know whether it's a myth or reality. So what should be like our stand, like what we should say in case if they just want to know our opinion about urban Naxalism?
Then you can reply very shortly that urban Naxalism is basically part of the or doctrine of the philosophy of Naxalism, that if they have gained ground in the rural areas, they would try to exploit the urban area, and then the urban Naxalites come into the picture. They are basically intellectuals, and they do motivate by their articles, lecture, and speeches, and exploit the gap between the rich and poor in the urban areas. They generally target the industrial area, industrial workers, low middle income group, and unorganized sector of the society.
Okay. No, even very recently, sir, I think 3-4 days back, or no, not 3-4 days back, during the monsoon session, even our Prime Minister in the very parliament, he said that the opposition is under the grip of urban Naxalism. So actually, I actually wanted to ask, like, in case if they would ask something like that, so what should be our stand? Like, you are labeling the whole opposition as something as urban Naxal, the one who are like, in case if somebody is talking about poor or someone like that. So I that's why I asked this question, sir.
Basically, the Prime Minister came out with this word, and he left opposition like that only. Because opposition parties are also considered as threat to the ruling party. So they keep on talking opposition parties. That may be a kind of rhetoric also.
Okay.
So otherwise we have gone, but I have told you that is basically the definition.
Okay, okay, sir. It makes sense. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, more questions.
Any other questions for the day? So I think then we will end the session for today. On behalf of IASbaba, I would like to thank you for your valuable time and addressing the questions of the students. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.